Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meet the Experts. I'm Dori Soukup, founder of Inspiration Management, and with me today is Eric Casaburi. He is the founder of Serotonin Anti-Aging Center, as well as Retro Fitness, and he is also a business leader and quite an entrepreneur. It is my honor to have him as a guest here today. We are going to discuss why it's valuable to own a franchise, specifically an anti-aging franchise, and how it will benefit you as an entrepreneur. So stay tuned. Welcome, Eric. It's so great to have you with us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Dori.
I know how busy you are, so I'm very thankful that you took the time to be here and discuss such a valuable topic I think that everybody needs to know about.
My pleasure.
I'd like to start by actually telling people a little bit more about you. I know who you are, but maybe my audience might not. I know that you started your first franchise, Retro Fitness franchise, at the age of 23. Which I think is amazing. And you built it all the way up to 150 some locations, right? And you still sit on the board. And now you're venturing into a whole new adventure, I should say, the Serotonin brand. But why don't we start by giving them a little overview about what you've done. You've had such a great, successful career. And I would love for everyone to know all your accomplishments and what you've been able to do.
Oh, well, thank you. That was a wonderful introduction. I started in the fitness industry at a very young age. I actually worked in fitness centers as a child. I say a child, like I was 13 when I had my first job in a gym.
We can tell you've been working at those hours for a while.
Well, that's why I did it. So I wanted to actually have a membership at a gym, and my mom said, well, you can go work at the gym and then they'll give you the membership free. And that's how I wound up that's how I got what I wanted.
Mom.
Yeah, so you didn't have to pay for it. And then it wound up being a passion of mine. I loved it. And I've always had a passion for health and fitness and wellness. And it iterated over the years into what they today call biohacking. I was one of the early people that was tinkering with my biohacking, right?
Yes.
I was, David Asprey, and you hear Dr. David Sinclair and Peter Attia, all these wonderful people that are out there that are doing this stuff. And there's so many functional medicine folks over at A4M and these other great organizations. Mm-hmm. I started to get involved with a lot of them, following them and learning about them and listening to them, and started going to the conferences like where we met.
Yes.
And I realized at that point that the industry I was in, fitness and health, the next level really needed to be explored. Mm-hmm. And not just from a business standpoint, which there was a huge opportunity there, right. I felt, but I also felt as an ethical standpoint, as a crusader for health and wellness, that this next step needed to be taken, because I was seeing data points in our own industry that I was currently in of retention and attrition issues with members. And I was thinking, everyone was thinking about, why are they leaving? Why are they quitting these gyms? Right. Is it the locker rooms? Is it the treadmill's too old? The TV's not big enough? It was because a lot of other issues. There was functional issues. There was metabolic syndrome happening. There was hormone deficiencies happening. All these things we had to start exploring, because when I started at 23, that client was now 20 years older.
Yes.
So they were a great client when I first got in the business. Generation X was my target. That was no secret. That's what I targeted.
Yes.
But they were aging, and that was me. So I said, well, what was happening to me, my wife, my friends, my siblings? And then I realized, we had some serious hormone problems happening and some other issues happening. And that's what got me started down the path to really dive in. And it wound up being, and then me, the entrepreneur, I said, well, how do I turn this into
an opportunity?
Right.
And that's really what I want to share with everyone today, is the opportunity that is available right now in our industry. It's as of the last statistics I think I checked out, it's a $15 billion industry right now.
And growing.
And growing, of course, growing exponentially, actually. And it's very exciting to be in this industry, actually, because it gives you such opportunity, not just from a financial aspect, like you said, but also from a health aspect. Now, tell me a little bit about, I know you were on a couple of shows. Actually, you've been interviewed on almost every news channel, and you did the Undercover Boss, which one of those videos went viral like crazy.
Yeah, and recently again, like every platform's redo. It was YouTube, now TikTok. Like they keep taking these clips from our show.
Yeah,
an incredible experience.
So how did you make the transition from Retro Fitness to actually, you sold the company? You're still on the board though, correct?
Well, we early on I brought private equity in, so I sold a portion of my equity way back when in the earlier years of that company, and then today that company still has partnerships involved, and I'm still a partner and equity stakeholder.
Nice. Okay. So how did we go from that? I know you were saying that you are aging, we all are, and you wanted to have an opportunity, not only business but also helping people. Let's start by, how did you come up with the name?
So there's a long story behind this name for the whole portion of how we trademarked it. That was the better part of this whole story.
Really?
So I we realized that serotonin is your happy hormone, right?
Yes.
It's how we feel good, and we feel
Yes.
good. Lots of things make us feel good, right? How we look, our health, our exchange with others, but our happy hormone is serotonin. So I said that would be a really cool name for a business, and that's one thing that I have always found I've done very well in my career was branding, was creating marketing campaigns, things that are catchy opening statements,
Right.
billboards. So when I did the serotonin, the first thing one of my first attorneys as counsel said is like, well, that's going to be a tough one to get past the trademark office. So we went through the process. And the cool thing about doing this later on in my career is I had a lot more experience, a ton more resources, and a bit more money, right? So I was able to kind of play the game the right way. So we actually own the trademark in multiple
Nice.
categories, not just one. And it was great, but we were able to grab that as a brand component, which we feel is going to be very powerful in many years to come, being
Yes.
able to utilize that brand because people do understand what serotonin is.
Of course.
So as I started in the process with that, I knew that, and as you talk about also, I've heard you say, creating a brand is one of the key elements of building a business. It's not just the golden arches, Lululemon now, the symbol, Apple. I mean, there's just iconic things that we understand. And for me, it's building up that level of service to live up to the brand.
Yes.
And so they work hand in hand. So to me, it's build the brand while you're building the business.
Yes.
So when I started building the business, I knew I was going to create a brand to stack this thing on top of.
Nice.
And that's always how I start. It's a lot harder. And this took me infinitely longer than any other project I've ever started was to start the Serotonin brand.
Wow.
It was a lot more complicated and difficult, which is how we met. I started going to conferences.
Yeah. And we were neighbors, actually.
I didn't know.
So Eric opened up the first location in Windermere, which is right outside of Orlando. And I lived literally like 5 minutes from Windermere.
Crazy.
And so tell me a little bit about this first location.
A great learning experience. So, I always say you could put all things down in a spreadsheet and a pro forma, but once you turn the key and the lights go on, all bets are off. Like you
right.
try to follow that model as best you can, but you're going to be tinkering and tweaking, and that's essentially what we did. And that's why we talk about being well capitalized when you open a business, especially in the beginning, because that's why there's such a high level of failure early on. The SBA stats will tell you all these things. You're undercapitalized coming out of the gate. So it's one of the things we talk about with our franchise candidates as well, is being well capitalized early on. And again, I've learned this through experience, personal, and from others that were in business with me. So we made a lot of mistakes, but mistakes that we learned from and were affordable. So we were able to afford those mistakes because of how we capitalized the working capital portion of the business. Marketing, how to attract the customer, who's our target audience, where are they, what's our geographic reach, all of these really important key elements when you're starting, and then just function and flow.
Yeah.
How appointments come in, the software, tinkering with it. We took a really good HIPAA compliant software that's getting popular, but we had to make a really customized version for what I wanted to do, which was a membership driven model.
Absolutely.
So I had to really do a lot of work, and that took me, and I didn't plan this, that took me another 6 months. And working with India, like we're not on the same time zone as you realize. So like, my wife's like, Kim's like, what are you doing? It's like 3 a.m. I'm like, I'm still on the call. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But building that first year out was really humbling. And it was expensive, but I'm glad I did those granular things that are required. When you start a business, you got to really get into the weeds with it, because we learned so much. And today, a year later, almost to the day we're open, we are wildly better at every function of the business we do, and we keep getting better. And now we know how to get better faster.
Absolutely. Well, that's the beautiful thing about having a model like you did, your first one. And so what are the plans for Serotonin? What's the strategy to grow it to where you took
World
retro
domination.
fitness?
World domination.
Let's do it.
No, so we realized that we're kind of cutting a path for a whole new industry. The anti-aging space in and of itself, separate and yet combined slightly with aesthetics, slightly different from functional medicine. We're kind of like running in a lane in the middle with multiple facets of all those businesses in our box. So I'm running a new industry almost, in a sense, where it's not been exposed to this type of scale. So our goal is to continue to scale. We've already sold a multi-unit development here in Central Florida.
Nice.
We've sold another multi-unit in New Jersey. We've got multiple deals right now that we're working through in different states. One's in Tennessee, another one's in New York.
Nice.
And we just got one from Delaware yesterday that's coming in. But it's all multi-unit development. And what we're trying to do is grow the brand in a healthy processed way, which is what I learned from my former years.
Yes.
But also to expose the brand to more people, because a lot of the stuff we do used to be for the elites in Hollywood or athletes that were paying at a professional level. We're doing stuff for just the regular, you and I, that like, hey, I can get in a hyperbaric chamber, or I can manage my hormones, or I can take certain supplements or peptides or Botox or all these great things that we all do. We're exposing it, but we're doing it in such a healthy manner because we're educating people on it.
For sure. And consumers are looking. There's such demand. That's why the industry, I think, is growing so rapidly, is because consumers are refusing to age.
Thank goodness. Yes.
They want to look good. What I love about Serotonin is that you have such a wide range of modalities that you're offering. It's almost like you're one-stop shop for people who are getting older. And I think that's going to be, I'm sure, a great success for all of you.
Thank you. And we did that intentionally. That was an intentional creative pervasive selling, right? It's called Cross Consumption.
Yes.
A great book written by Yoon, super consumer. Got a great education from that book, but it talked to a lot of what we've done well in the fitness industry, where how do we check a couple of boxes for people when they come into that big, 20,000 square foot center. So how do we do this inside of Serotonin? And we figured, hey, if we're going to have nurse practitioners and medical practitioners and medical directors on staff, what else can we do that our client would want us to do for them that makes sense?
Yes.
And there's things that don't make sense. Like, you don't get a pizza at McDonald's. There's a reason why. It doesn't make sense under that brand.
Yes.
But for us, if you're coming to us for overall looking good and feeling good, you're coming to us for weight loss, and then we say, well, we can cool scope that other area too. So now we can kind of do that. You say, well, I got this line on my head I don't like. Well, great. Now that we got you producing more collagen and elastin, and we're working with your, hey, now we're going to give you a skincare regimen. So we're just taking care of your whole body, and that's our goal.
Yeah. And I love that, because once you perfect the model that you're doing right now, and you have this great menu, just like you did with Retro Fitness, I just have a feeling, because like you said, there are no big players in our industry. Most people have maybe one location, maybe two, maybe three, and that's really the most. There's not one great anti-aging franchise right now. You're going to be it.
Correct. And you've said it here, so now your listeners, everyone knows this now. And that is one of our goals. So one of our goals is specifically to capture the flag, I call it. So every industry has a flag leader. And there's you can name them in fitness, in coffee, in burgers.
Yes.
We know in clothing, in athleisure. We want to be the name brand associated with anti-aging. Serotonin is the anti-aging brand that's leading the charge. And for many reasons. I think because of how we'll do it, ethically, morally. I think the followers behind us will learn a good lesson, because that's some of the problems in some industries and why they grow so slowly is because the leaders that emerged first weren't the best. They were just first.
Yeah.
So we want to be first and the best.
Absolutely. Well, I have every confidence that you are the best for sure. So what drives Eric? Like, how do you keep that going? You have such great positive energy. You draw people in. I think it's amazing. So what drives you?
I truly love health and wellness. It's a crazy passion. My hobby is working out, and I study human behavior. I spend most of my time, most of my reading, my whole library is books about human behavior, human physiology. I mean, I'm so enamored by how special we are as human beings and everything we're capable of doing. And I want to maximize that in our short period of time that we have. And we call it lifespan versus health span. My goal is to improve health span to the maximum capability that you're able to do, to optimize it. So the last 10 years of your life, whether it's 90 to 100, 100, 150, whatever those last years are, they're treated as if they were your years in the middle. And it's very possible. And that's what we need to teach people. And that's what we are. We're exploiting that right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that's amazing, because in the United States, as you know, we both traveled quite a bit overseas and been around the world. And we are such a unhealthy nation, I think. So I'm so glad that you're targeting it from both aspects. So you're bringing in the health and wellness and the beauty all in combination together. Why do you think people here don't take such great care of themselves?
I could spend 2 hours on a whole nother show with you talking about that, because I spent a lot of time researching that. We could boil it down to a few different things. It's decades behind of poor behaviors and poor habits. The population of how sugar works in the American diet and carbohydrates. I mean, there's so many, a litany of reasons what leads to inflammation and metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes, and so many, a controllable, by the way, disease. That's a chosen disease, I call it. Who would choose to get cancer? No one. Why would you choose to get type 2 diabetes? that kind of stuff is very controllable. It's just about education. The tools have never been so readily available as they are today.
Yes.
Again, that's something that our goal is to continue to exploit this availability, to get people to understand. And we have so many clients already, like the lights just go on, like,
Yes.
wow, we never knew that.
Yes.
Oh, that's simple. You know, deploying them, controlling their macros, giving them an in-body scan, showing them what their body composition is huge.
Yes.
Knowledge is power. And most of the medical practices to date, our general practitioners, they do a great job at what they're supposed to do, but this just wasn't part of their training.
Yes. Yes.
So now we're uncovering that.
And it's like a conveyor belt. Like when you go see a doctor, you see the doctor for 2 minutes. Like how can they even help you? And what I love about what you're going to be doing is also the educational component of actually taking a consumer who doesn't know all the solutions and then being able to educate them into there are solutions for this.
It's empowerment. And that's our goal. Our goal is to empower our clients with this knowledge and then these actionable tasks that they can do to achieve this optimization of their health and their well-being.
Yes. So if I were a person interested in buying a franchise, a Serotonin franchise, what would be some of the essential practices that I need to know about before I actually jump in?
So the great thing about a franchise business model is it doesn't require you come in knowing everything, because that's part of what we do is we train you to do the model the way we think it should be done. We love to have good business acumen. History and management is always nice. If you're a medical person, you know, your medical degree will be great, but doesn't mean it's necessarily going to help you run the business, because we're going to teach you the tenets of managing a business, P&Ls, understanding payroll, how to create marketing plans. All of that stuff is kind of, we help with that and assist and we teach. But we want to be people that are committed, that understand like what we're doing and have to have a real passion for it. I always tell people, don't get involved in any business just for the financial reward, because that'll burn away eventually, and it won't want you to get out of bed certain mornings when you're going to need to get out of bed and want to run to that business.
Yes.
I talk to the point of do something that you're going to get some enjoyment out of, and it's going to empower you as well, because that'll fuel you the dark days, and there's always going to be some dark days in business. You know, no one predicted COVID, right? No one knew that was going to happen. But the people that had a passion for their business and especially the small business owners, those are the ones that kept running and kept just, you know, I'm going to get up, I'm going to keep going after this. We want you to have a level of interest in the actual business that we do every day.
Passion for it.
Yes.
That's what I was telling my son. He graduated with a biochemistry degree and decided, Mom, I'm not so crazy about that. What are you going to do? I said, find something that you love. So now he's getting his master's in environmental science.
Great.
Because I think if you doing what you love, it's not work, right? It's what you want to do. You're passionate about it and you succeed. But I don't know if you want to get into that here, but what kind of financial commitment would someone have to actually make to buy a franchise?
So if you look at our franchise disclosure document, we have a range of what the required costs are to start. And I believe today's dated one, there's a low range and a high range. And everyone was, what's the high range? So the highest range that I think is in that document today is 1.2 million and change, like 1.28 something, you know, whatever it is. But it's everything in between. And that's if you got no landlord contribution, if you've had, you know, if you got a completely gray shell box, it's the worst case scenario. But it is $1 million investment. There's no doubt about that. It's a serious investment because it's a serious business. Our finishes are incredible. They're beautiful, just like your beautiful studio here, right? You have to invest in those types of things to get that response. But our clients expect that because we're a concierge type business.
Absolutely. Well, that's good. And what would be the initial inquiry? Like, what would somebody have to do to actually inquire about a Serotonin franchise?
Most of the candidates come through our website. We have a franchising link. They fill out a form. It's a quick form. It drops into our kind of our big folder there, and we're calling those people as fast as we can back. We're doing our best. And then once we do that, we do that quick little interview, qualification type stuff. We do an intro call, and then we do a discovery day. If they want to come further, we bring them into Windermere, and then we talk about geography. So there's a whole step process. But the first thing is just click that link and just type in your information.
Yes, that would be a good thing. You better start clicking. So what is the overall vision that you have for Serotonin?
We want to be across the United States, obviously in every major DMA. We're being very picky about where we start, and we have a mapping, you know, kind of where we want to go. Like, we're not going to drop into a market that we're just not ready to go into yet. We'll probably say no a few more times and we'll say yes in the beginning. We've just learned that in franchising. But my goal is to get into the bigger DMAs right away, control market share there, allow the brand to explode and explore, and then we'll backfill into those sub-markets as we grow. It's just the right time of plan, and we want to right size it, having the right franchisee partners that come in. It depends on the capabilities there and their wherewithal to grow and expand and how many units they can do. It's a little more of a science than most would think. It's not emotional, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
It's
for
very
sure.
specific.
Yeah. Well, knowing you, it would be. And probably systematic too.
Yes.
You gotta have those systems in place, that's for sure.
Yes.
So how is the family taking Dad going into this whole new venture?
It was kind of funny because when I have 4 children, so my 2 oldest were the same age as my 2 youngest are now when we started Retro Fitness. So, and it was this like decade
That's funny.
of dominance where like I was like nowhere to be found because I was constantly
Yes.
busy with the business and doing what I could to make it to the baseball games and to the volleyball games and all that fun stuff. And my wife said to me, she goes, I can't believe we're going to do this again. This is amazing. And it's exciting because it's invigorating for me. I really fuel off of these types of opportunities and this growth. And I love empowering entrepreneurs, and I love teaching them. I love watching people, expand their horizons and their financial capacity as well. But for me, this is such an exciting time because of the opportunity and where we are and my timing. And I knew that the world needed this, and I just the model that we were able to create. And again, we're still growing it. We're still making it even better every day. It's just such an exciting time. And my wife and my kids are all like, they're like all gung ho about it. Like we all wear the t-shirts around the house.
Yeah, because someone in your situation, you built Retro Fitness to 150 some locations, and you could have just like hung up the hat and you could be in Fiji right now or Tahiti or somewhere.
And I always tell people I stink at golf, so I'm not gonna. I don't have time. It takes too much time. So what else is left to do? I already work out, so like I may as well take these other 15 hours in the day. Work
and plus
be
you're
productive.
young anyway. Like what would you do?
And that's it. I want to be a productive person in society, right? But I truly love the Serotonin brand, and I love the industry even more so that we're creating, we're getting part of, and I love the new people we're meeting, and it's a whole nother. It's like starting over again, and it actually essentially is. I treat it as a startup, by the way. Like people think, like, how did you mentally get there? I went back to 1997 when I opened my first gym, and then I went up to 2000 and change when I started Retro, like 2004 and 5 when I got that model in my head. I said, who was I then? And I had to go backwards in my head. Like I really played a crazy little game with myself, and to forget the success you've had, forget all the money, forget all of that. How do you start this business with that same gritty attitude about getting in there and working hard and that's what I did. So I stripped myself away from all of the wonderful luxuries that I have achieved over the years. I kept my resourcefulness and I utilized that. But I didn't think of it in the way that some people say, oh, well, it must have been easy this time. No, it wasn't. I went exactly back to square one.
Well, because you're starting.
That's what it is, a startup.
You're taking all your lessons that you've learned in the past and applying them, but yes, it is all from scratch. Well, it's been such a pleasure for me to be in this industry. I started out as a consultant for only like resort spas and day spas initially. And when I started seeing this movement of all these physicians and nurse practitioners and PAs wanting to get into medical aesthetics and started seeing the growth, we shifted our company into medical aesthetics. And it's been such a ride. I love it. I love it because we were talking a little bit earlier about medical professionals. They're great at what they do, but here they are trying to run a business, a cash business. And it's totally different than the insurance business, that conveyor belt that we were talking about. So it's been truly a wonderful experience. And I know you're going to do great things. Like everybody's going to know who Eric is.
Thank you. I'd rather know who Serotonin is.
Yes, that too. Well, the man behind it. There's always a man or a woman or both behind every great brand, for sure. Yeah.
That is true.
So I loved actually your logo.
Thank you.
And the whole look and feel actually of the brand is very nice. So what kind of consumers are you finding actually coming, like from the Orlando franchise, for example?
It's interesting. Our target audience went quite a bit wider in the funnel than I anticipated initially, and happily, right? This was a great find. We were targeting a certain age demographic for specific things, hormones. You would think, okay, this is going to start in your 30s, 40s, or 50s into 60s. But then we also noticed that the aesthetic component we were bringing in the 20-year-olds. Like my daughter wants to do certain, I want the lip flip. Or I didn't even know some of this stuff until I got with like Allergan and all these people. I started learning this stuff. But and Instagram helped us a lot, right? I mean, all the selfie age has been wonderful for us in the business. But so it did actually widen the funnel quite a bit. So we have people that are clients in their 70s, and we have people as young as in their 20s that are. And I say clients, like visiting clients all the time, like coming and doing some of our different types of treatments as well.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Because as we go through the stages, and I was looking at your menu, you do have things for almost every decade that we go through.
That's it. We do. We're going to grow with you through your life.
Yeah, and God knows we all need hormones as we get older and older. Would you say that that's your most popular treatment now?
I think it's I would say it's the base of one of our most common memberships that we sell. And the reason is most people don't know what they don't know. So we do a lot of blood work and we review that. Our practitioners do a phenomenal job of explaining what means what in that blood work. Not just cholesterol and fasted glucose, which you normally would get, but we're talking like, deep hormone work, free testosterone, follicle stimulating hormone, and then you get CRP. What does that C-reactive protein look like? You have inflammation, cortisol levels. Cortisol's up, testosterone's down, you got a problem. Metabolic syndrome's right in the middle there. So like teaching them these things and understanding that blood work. So it's very conversational. And that's where it starts. And then we drill into all the other things in a consultation.
Yeah. And I think if an entrepreneur is watching this and thinking, oh, who's like these kind of treatments, hormones or Botox fillers, the beauty of this is that no matter what city you're in, there's going to be demand. And that's what I love about it.
Oh yes, yeah. It's not going anywhere. There's a plethora of new people entering our market all the time for our services every day. It's getting more and more popular. Yeah.
We're going to be a $20 billion industry.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, and beyond.
And beyond, for sure. Yeah. What else would you like to share about anything, whether it's personal, whether it's business, success?
You've asked all the best questions. Right? You gave me all the low-hanging fruit here. But this was the conversation, and when I have these talks and whenever I speak about serotonin or just anti-aging, my goal is more informative than anything else. And the business opportunity is wonderful. The educational tools that come up because of the business opportunity, I think, are what will make a legacy out of this brand. And that's my goal, is for more people to understand their own health.
Nice.
Because I realize I've seen it in my own family, people that just didn't know what they didn't know and had behavioral patterns because of that. And if you just shifted some of those things and added some things and added a little bit of medicine, added some nutritional supplementation, and did a couple of other things like drinking more water or sleeping the right way or tracking it with an Oura ring or some kind of device. There's so many things we can do that don't even cost anything. It doesn't cost you much to drink water, right? And it doesn't cost you much to sleep more or sleep properly. But we teach our clients that, believe it or not. It's part of what we do.
Yeah. But instead of doing all these things, they're eating at McDonald's and Burger King.
we kind of try to shift that behavior too. We talk about that.
It's amazing to me how mindset plays we almost need that as a component. First, you start there. You start with their mindset, how they see themselves, how they think about themselves, and then show them that program that they need to be on.
Yeah, and mental wellness is another, but we didn't talk about that. So we're bolting on probably 2023 fourth quarters. We're going to be bringing in a mental wellness component.
Wow.
In fact, my oldest daughter, she's studying neuroscience right now, and one of the reasons is to go bring that part of it into the practice as well.
And that is so needed, actually.
100%. Every client we talk to has a sliver of that issue happening when it comes, especially if there's a hormone deficiency, and they don't know why.
Yes.
Why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel depressed?
Exactly.
Why
do I get angry?
Yeah, I mean, once we get the hormones managed and we figure it out and we talk about that, but then it's that emotional component, like, hey, what was going on? Why was I behaving this way? So we want to give some tools to manage that as well. So we'll be adding that as part of our offerings.
See, you're already expanding. You just started and you're already expanding your menu. That's wonderful. All right, so for anybody who's watching us today, where would they go to learn more about serotonin and to apply to become a franchisee?
So our website is serotonincenters.com, and the best place to go is right there in the right corner, the franchising link. Fill out all your information. We'll be happy to get one of ourselves. Even sometimes I make those phone calls. I love to do those first follow-up phone calls
I
as
know
well.
You do.
I do. I love to meet new people and talk. And we'll tell you all about serotonin and answer any of the questions you might have. And there's a lot, and we're happy to spend some time discussing it.
That's great. I'm so glad you were able to join us. If you too would like to be on Meet the Experts, please go to meettheexperts.com and apply. I would love to have you as a guest so you can share your knowledge and expertise with our audience. Thank you so much for being with us. Until next time, stay inspired.